Peace, everybody. So really, the reason I'm making this video is because I really want to just tell y'all the story behind me, to be honest with you. Before I start this video off, I want to give my sincere shout outs and my sincere will to Valor B, because the man's going through some shit if you haven't seen his video. And I can relate heavily to the shit you were saying in that video. I can definitely relate and resonate with on a different frequency and on a different vibration. But stuff is kind of similar. So anyway, who is Be the All? Who is Bradley Core? Well, I didn't really start, resonating with this kind of information, this metaphysical information. You know what I mean? Like going beyond the veil of like religion and all that shit. That didn't start for me till like 2013. Excuse me. That didn't happen until around 2013, and I had met this woman, this Scorpio Sun woman, who this woman plays a very important signature in this period from 2013 to now. I'll get into that in a second. I'm not shooting out any names, or I'm not shooting anybody down. This is no disrespect to anybody or anything, person, place, or thing that was involved in this whole process, but it is what it is. So, learning from her, going beyond the whole, thing of church and religion, seeing Jesus in a new light, looking at the planets as energies and as energy signatures, looking at the different colors a different way. And I don't even really think I was even learning about chakras that heavy at that time. But after I met her, and there may have been some sexual whims and one night stands and everything like that. And then me and this person ended up, going our separate ways and everything, going our different paths. So in the process, as I learned this information, I came across another not a group of friends, but another individual who was also a water sign, and he was a Pisces sun. And this was the man that really got me into the whole spiritual aspect of hip hop. Because y'all know I really talk about and emphasize hip hop a lot in my videos, kind of as a mantra, because hip hop itself started as a spiritual movement. And there's a lot of debates on, who started hip hop. They say DJ Kool Herc started hip hop with his parties in the Bronx and everything like that. But then you got some new information surfacing about a cat named Disco King Mario, I believe his name is. I never even heard about him, but that's a whole another topic in and of itself. But basically, the point I'm trying to get at is that hip hop itself, as an energy signature and as a spiritual signature, had resonated with me heavily. And this is before I was really studying heavily about the planets and the dimensions and all the stuff that Dolo talks about and the way he sees things. So as I'm learning these different things, and I'm also around, because I've told y'all before, I was in a band. I didn't join a band till around 2014, but I was familiar with playing with musical groups and things of that nature. So around the time of 2014, I get into a band with a lot of people who were close to me, of all different zodiac signs, of all different energy signatures, of all different ages, multiracial and everything like that. So I get into this group, predominant, and it was a soul group. It was a predominantly black group, and I was one of the only white people that was in the group. And I'm not saying I don't know. I mean, I did deal with occasional racism and discrimination, and I had some barriers that I had to go across by being a Caucasian in a predominantly black group. That's a different topic in and of itself. But some people shared similar spiritual qualities and perspectives, and some didn't. And there were no arguments. There wasn't no, it never manifested itself to where things got physical or people was arguing or debating or shit like that. But it was on a vibrational and it was on a frequency. It was beyond the physical. It was just tensions. Like people just weren't relating to each other in a different way of personalities clash. You know how personalities clash, like if you're at work or something like that, and you just have, because when you're in a workspace, it's not necessarily a group of people that share in one common goal. Well, maybe it is one common goal, and that's to obtain, a source of income. But with a job, you got so many people from different walks of lives interacting with each other, and it's just like all these different ingredients that, you know, some go together and some don't, and it can be so extreme to the point where, you know, you got conflicts at work, people fighting shit like that. That's a whole nother topic in and of itself. That shit's crazy. Or at school, you know, people fight at school and shit, like high schools and shit like that, and all the altercations that people get into, and those kind of energy signatures and ways of, not ways of thinking, but arenas of life and shit. Well, it is ways of thinking, you know. Schools put you in a certain mindset, but that's a different story. But anyway, going back to the whole, you know, being in a band and being around, you know, different energy signatures and everything. Just when we were around each other, we couldn't really express ourselves to the fullest without somebody getting judged on one level or the other, and it just didn't make everybody feel comfortable. And then I'm not gonna lie, I did feel, not from everybody, I didn't feel from everybody, but some points and aspects I felt a slight, you know, race tension, because, you know, it wasn't like, you know, mixed like, you know, maybe Latino or, you know, Italian, German, Asian or shit like that. It was like, you know, black and white, the, you know, extreme polar opposites. So there was some spiritual confliction, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, one of the people that you know, I've distanced myself from everybody. I mean, it don't matter. That's the thing. Like, I don't look at color. I mean, if I'm gonna look at anything first, before I look at your skin color, before I, you know, hear the tone of your voice or what you're wearing, I'm gonna look at your birth chart first. I'm gonna see the solar system inside you. I'm gonna judge you from the solar system inside you. That's how I'm gonna judge you. I've looked past all that shit. You know, we've all been in our immature stages and ways of thinking and shit like that. You know, I've looked past that. I've been older. I'm still learning, but I've learned to look past all that shit. But anyway, so the point I'm trying to get at is that as I'm learning, you know, I'm keeping most of this shit to myself. You know, all the shit that I talk about in my videos. Not necessarily all the shit I talk about in my videos, but the basis of that, you know, metaphysics in general, astrology in general. I couldn't really, you know, express it to the fullest to most of the people in my group and everything, besides a select few. And one of those select few was this Pisces individual. And he wasn't necessarily in our band, but he was like an outside source. Kind of like, you know how they say, like, let me use an example. The Beatles had, you know, what was his name? George Martin, and he was their producer, and he was like the fifth Beatle. He would be like the other member of our group, giving us advice. And he was a lot younger than us, so, you know, it was very humble when he was giving us advice. The man studied music to a T, and studied hip-hop to a T, bruh. But anyway, this Pisces individual, his father took us to a trip to the river, and at this trip to the river, basically said this thing that was very profound to me, saying that we are all God. We are all projections of the Most High. And now, going full circle, studying Dolo and shit like that, and him talking about the 9 dimensions and how they correlate to, you know, all aspects of our vessels and shit like that, it all makes perfect sense. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I learned that, and, you know, time goes on, you know, I split my ways with certain people and everything like that, even with this Pisces individual. But the reason was because the Scorpio woman that I had interacted with that introduced me to this spirituality, I ended up being in a relationship with this woman. Again, after she came back into my life. And that was more so on me. I did that to myself because I was in a position where I felt like I was lonely. You know, we all go through that phase, you know, male or female, we all go through that phase where we feel really lonely, and we, you know, reach out. We get to a point where we just reach out and, you know, hope for the best. You know, we cast our rod and we hope for the best. And I thought I did have the best, you know, and it was very difficult situation as the whole relationship unfolded in and of itself. You know, she had a child with somebody else. She had a younger brother. And, you know, she was still living with her mother. And like I said, I'm not name dropping. I'm not exposing anyone's life or anything like that. I'm just telling you the situation that I was in, and it is what it is. Now anyway, I interact with her, and we get into a relationship, and her child is born. And I feel like in my spirit, the spirit in me at the time felt like, well, the father is not around. Why don't I take my role as being the father figure? Why don't I take my phone? And let me just clarify another thing. This is something I didn't mention, that I forgot to mention and everything. And like I said, I'm not doing this whole black and white thing to like put myself on a pedestal, because I am a white person that interacted with black people on a different level than what you see with a mainstream society and shit like that. On a spiritual and a musical level and shit like that. But I was very sympathetic for the black community, for the ghettos, for the struggles, for people in the projects and shit like that. My heart went out tenfold. And the way my personality was at the time, I had no choice. My spirit had no choice but to help out. That's the thing. This relationship wasn't, we didn't have time to really get to know each other on a deep. We did get to know each other on a deep soul level, but not in the way that we wanted to. Like Dolo says, God's not going to give you what you want or what you need. He's always going to give you what you fucking deserve. And all this shit that happened in this relationship, through the pits and falls, through the responsibilities that I took upon myself and the consequences that came after everything was said and done, because I wasn't fit, because I had to realize at the end I wasn't fit to be a father figure yet, keyword yet. I wasn't spiritually mature. I wasn't spiritually mature to do any of the things that I was doing in this relationship. This relationship caused me and my parents to have a falling out, in my own personal family life, to have a falling out. And I was basically in a position where I had to pick sides, and it was just a very, very, very polarizing, very, very difficult situation. And like I said, I was in the hood most of the time. I wasn't living in my neighborhood, when I was with this woman. I was, doing what I had to do, what my spirit told me to do. I had certain jobs where I was, set in the hood. And like I said, I'm not saying this to, boast or brag about myself, saying, yeah, I went to the hood, I'm a hard motherfucker or some shit like that. No, I've seen the reality as a Caucasian. I've seen the reality as a young Caucasian. I've seen the reality of the hoods, of the projects. The person I was in a relationship lived right down the street from the worst projects in our town. And I had been there a handful of times for different circumstances. And that's the point I'm trying to drive home, is that I understand people struggle. I'm a Cancer moon. I have no choice but to resonate and to vibe with almost any energy signature that's being presented to me. But it's my choice to use my filter to be able to know what exactly I'm feeling, what vibration and what particular frequency I'm picking up on, and based upon this energy signature, I need to make certain decisions based on these different vibrations. And being in the hood a lot and being in this relationship did make me street smart in some way, shape, or fashion, and did give me a sense of maneuverment, not just in a physical realm, but in a spiritual realm. You have to keep to yourself. As hard as it can be to to want to express, and it can be any kind of expression. If people give you a funny look, you really have no choice but to just turn the other cheek. Especially if you're in a situation where you don't know what to do because you're in an unfamiliar location, you have to act as a tourist, basically, for lack of a better word. But anyway, as the relationship unfolded and as the relationship ended, I was still in a predicament to where I was in so deep, I still had to provide money because of the circumstances they were in, the living circumstances that they were in, because because we interacted with our energies. Because me and this person, if our birth chart was almost similar, so our energies were causing friction. And because our energies were causing friction, these circumstances that she was in and that I was in, they all manifested to a crumbling point when we interacted in a relationship. And this just goes to show how strong, even in a negative sense, and positive and negative, that love and attachment can be. Because you can be so attached and you can convince yourself so much that you have to be with this person regardless, no matter what. And then using God, the Christian concept of God, not the overall true God, but the Christian concept of a God, almost as an excuse. And it wasn't this person's fault. It was a desperate situation. It really was. It's a heartbreaking situation. It's really a heartbreaking situation. I haven't even gotten. I'm just scraping the surface of what's going on and what has happened and what I've been through and everything. But basically, the point I'm trying to make is I'm doing this as putting myself on the cross, to know that the stuff that I talk about and the stuff that I preach, and I don't even want to say preach, but the stuff that I just give out to the universe and that I express through camera, because like I said, I'm a student. I wouldn't consider myself a teacher. I wouldn't consider myself on the level of being a teacher per se. I have to be humble enough to recognize that. I have those qualities of becoming that, but I'm not there. I'm 23 years old. I'm a young man, so I have a long way to go. But, like I said, as the relationship ended, as she moved on with someone else, moving on with someone else that fitted more of her energy signature, but I was still involved in the situation as a means of income. And I just had to get to a point where I said, I can't do it no more. There were situations in my family life that were unfolding to a point where it was so chaotic, I couldn't balance, no matter how much my heart wanted to do this, that, or the third. I had to come to the point, and this is why Dolo's videos are so important. This is why I feel like everybody should watch Archangel Uriel, because he is by far the most important motherfucker on this planet Earth right now, to have someone go deep into themselves and realize their full potential. Because you got a lot of people that, they do their best to try to have people go to their full potential, but it's almost in this, they have their own agenda. You see what I'm saying? But with Dolo, it's so pure. Even though he says, I am the Archangel Uriel, and some people who don't understand would maybe think it was an egotistical thing. If you really feel this man's spirit, it's not fucking egotistical. He knows what the fuck is going on. So with that being said, as I got myself out of this situation and out of this pit that I was in, and like I said, all great, all positive vibes to the person. I don't know if you'll ever watch this video, the Scorpio woman, but I love you. I have no hate in my heart towards you, point, period, blank of anything that's happened, but it is what it is, and I have to move on with my life. But anyway, as I moved on with my life, things did get better as far as me being able to situate myself and be able to know myself a lot more, but I was still being attacked, and I'm still attacked every day. I think all of us on some wave, shape, or form get, attacked on some sort of level. But it's always important to be still. It's always important to go within yourself and use the strongest amount of willpower with your own sun and your own solar system, wherever your headspace is at, to just, as corny as it may sound, to just breathe and just let the universe flow. I have Saturn in the first house, and Saturn falls in the first house. So I really have, my subconscious really has no choice but to, go with the flow of the structure of, this world and of my own personality. And I have to, be structured with my own personality and, make sure it's built and it's not going to fall apart. It's hard to explain this in what I'm trying to really get down into words, but, you all have to be still and just, take in the moment and do your best to not succumb to the negative energy that's being presented. And with that being said, I'm going to close this video out and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. Today is Monday, so I suggest that you use this energy signature to, work on your private life, work on your reactions, your emotions, and to work on your family life. Because that's what I'm going to do. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.